Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and the owner-broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, many people think of downsizing or moving to a home with less stairs, less maintenance, things like that. But having to move seems to be a very daunting project. What are you seeing as the common downsizing mistakes, and how can our listeners avoid them?
Well, Richard, I think, first of all, it doesn't matter when you do it in life. Moving is difficult. It's very hard. A lot of people stay in their same house for a lot of years. But there's some things that you can do well in advance to make your move less stressful. So one of the things you don't want to do is wait too long. I've personally witnessed people that call me to help them when they waited a little bit too long to decide to move. And that's very hard. I had one client a couple years back that he was fighting cancer. His wife had memory issues. He was facing a major surgery, and it was way beyond when they should have done that move. But we helped him do it. He got through it. He got to his next destination. Everything ended up being okay. But I've also had a client that had some memory issues that I was helping, and he collected a lot of stuff. I don't know why, but there was like 2 containers of stuff, and there's just a lot of stuff. And so we tried to help him sort through it. He didn't really want to let go of very much of it. But ultimately, what I didn't know, and it's very hard to tell when people have memory problems, right? Because you can't tell from talking to them. Have you ever talked to anybody like that, Richard, that's facing a little bit of memory issue, and the next time you talk to them, they don't remember something that you think they should have?
You know what? You're lucky if that's the case. Quick story. There was a lovely World War II veteran and his wife that I befriended and was friends with them for quite a while. Eventually, they were in an automobile accident. That's the bad side of the story. But when I was talking to the children, they said, well, and she had memory problems and Alzheimer's. And I'm like, no, really? And she, oh my God, you didn't notice it was horrible. Well, it turned out that he helped her avoid people knowing that. He helped her get dressed. He helped her do all of these things. And then when I started thinking about them out in public, all the time he would cover for her, and her answers were just always general answers, and she knew not to say, what are you talking about, or who are you, or anything like that. They'd gotten by just getting by, I guess, and covering it up for a long time. So what you're talking about can be much more of a common problem than people realize, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that last case, when I first met him, that Mr. Seller pulled me aside and said, hey, just so you know, next time you come back, she's not going to remember you at all. So don't be
Wow.
surprised if I have to reintroduce you. I said, oh, and it's just weird. So I had one that had memory issues, so much so that he didn't remember that he hired a moving company to move him from his house to a senior care facility. And they were kind of unscrupulous, and he didn't remember doing it. They sued him to get paid. I mean, it was kind of a nightmare. And he thought we moved him. I'm like, no, we didn't do that. So fortunately, he has a brother that could kind of back him up and help him through that scenario. But that's something that the family should be paying attention to. But I'm just wondering how many people are out there that don't necessarily have family to help them when they get to that point. It's heartbreaking to me. And then I had another client that, was in his 70s. He didn't have any memory issues, but he was a victim of basically making an inquiry online about moving companies. And this one moving company reached out to him. He contracted with the moving company after them looking at all of the contents in his house. And then when they got there on moving day, it was this big bait and switch to say, oh, wait a minute, we didn't know about that baby grand piano, and that's going to cost you 2,000 more. And so he lost his deposit. He fired them. He lost his deposit. But you know, so you don't want to do that. If a moving company is contacting you, look out. You should be reaching out. That's just one of my tips that you should think of. So there's a lot of things to consider. You know, nobody wants to get taken advantage of. Another thing that a lot of homeowners assume is that the family, the kids, or whatever want their furniture. But you have to keep in mind, they already have furniture more than likely. And not all pieces are attractive to the kids or the extended family member. But I still would ask the question, say, hey, I'm going to downsize. I'm moving from this big house to 2 bedrooms or whatever. I don't want most of this stuff. I remember what my mom did. My dad had passed away, and she just said, all right, kids, come and get whatever you want. So we all descended on the house and kind of picked out the stuff that we wanted. And most of us really didn't want furniture. You know, we wanted some mementos and stuff. So then what do you do with it if the family doesn't want it? And I hear this a lot where people say, well, I paid $10,000 for that Ethan Allen, you know, living room set or whatever. And the problem is you can't get $10,000 when you resell it. If you're lucky, you might get 10 cents on the dollar for used furniture. There are consignment stores in town that you can use, and some will pick up your furniture, some will not. We allow our clients to use moving vans for free if they don't have somebody to pick up their furniture. So we have options to help people with that scenario, but it's another big burden that you have to take care of. Now, if you're selling to an investor, like if you are basically, it's an as-is deal, you might lose a little bit of equity selling to an investor. A lot of those investors actually will say, hey, leave whatever you don't want, we'll take care of it. So that's a nice, convenient thing if it happens. But some signs to consider downsizing are, you need a simpler life. You want, I hear a lot of people say, this is too much house for me to maintain. I hear that over and over again, too much yard to maintain. Some people are looking at trying to get into a lower cost housing going forward. Some people aren't using all of the property, or they want to get out of the weather, or maybe my parents, until they passed away, lived in a house that had a very, very steep driveway. It used to make us very nervous, the whole thing. But they weren't moving. My dad's like, you're taking me out of here in a box. And that's pretty much how it went down. Or if they're having physical issues taking care of the house. That's what some of the most common things that we see. And actually, the largest percentage of people contacting me to downsize, it's not necessarily about the house that they're in. It's about being closer to family. Probably the biggest, strongest genetic pull for downsizing and being closer to family is to be closer to grandkids. I see that all the time. Or being closer to their adult children that can take care of them. All those things are really important. Now, be very careful with the cost of moving. There's local moves that you can do at a low cost. There's out-of-state moves that you can get a pretty good pricing on. I definitely would shop around for that. I recently had a client that they were in their 70s, not really physically strong, and they decided to rent their own van and move themselves. Well, before they left, they ran into the front of the house and wiped out the mailbox, and then he hurt himself on the truck. I mean, he should not have done that himself. It might have been worth a little bit more money to have somebody do that for you. But watch for scammers online. Try not to cheap out on the move, especially if you have some physical issues where you can't do it yourself. We have all kinds of tips like that. And when we come back after the break, we're going to talk about kind of the rest of the downsizing mistakes and how you can avoid them. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And I can't wait to talk about the rest of this. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can reach Barb at 719-301-3900. And we're talking with Barb about the top downsizing mistakes and how to avoid them. So, Barb, what are some other mistakes and how do our listeners plan to downsize with ease?
Well, a lot of people kind of underestimate everything that they own and what they actually use. And they did some studies and they figured out that most people use about 20% of what they have, which I'd say that's definitely true for us. But we can get help to help you get rid of things that you don't need or repurpose things that you don't need. It's a journey. It can be very emotional. A lot of things have memories. And what happened to my folks were that basically after they had both passed away, their house got caught up in the Waldo Canyon fire. But my mom planned the move fairly well. So what she did initially was gathered the stuff that she wanted for her new place, because that happened before the house burnt down. And then she had an estate sale. And well, she had the kids come get what they wanted. Then she had an estate sale. And I was at the estate sale, and I will tell you, it was kind of funny. I was going through the stuff that was there, and I ran across this cookbook. And there were a bunch of cookbooks. She was a fabulous, she was a Air Force officer's wife. So I don't know if you know much about that, Richard, but back in the day, you had to entertain if you were an officer's wife. You had to have parties, you had to have events, you had to go to events. It was all about rank and very much be a socialite. Did you ever meet anybody that did that?
I didn't, but there was a television program that talked about that, and I watched it for a season. It was very interesting because I didn't realize that kind of came with the territory. You
Yeah.
want your you want your spouse to be an officer? Yeah, well, there are some obligations, or at least there used to be.
Yeah. I mean, you had to play well in the sandbox. Basically, that was how your husband could get promoted if you got along with the wives. And so, anyway, what I came across was this cookbook. It was the Maxwell Air Force Base Officers' Wives Cookbook. It came from, I think the first edition was probably 1956, and it went through 1961. So I'm showing an image of it here, which this would never happen in today's world. It was kind of cool. The name of the book is Stove Pilot, and has a picture of an officer's wife riding a rocket in a bikini, holding a frying pan in one hand and a cookbook in the other hand.
That is crazy, and that
It's
is
hilarious.
that's a B-1 buzz bomb from World
Uh,
War II.
yeah, it's something like that. But anyway, um, and what was funny is what's in the cookbook, a majority of the recipes in the cookbook are mixed drink recipes. There's a little bit of food and appetizers in there, but it's mostly alcohol. So when I came across this in my mom's estate sale, I'm like, oh my God, I have to keep this. So I took it out of the estate sale. I went and found some more of them online and gave a copy to everybody, all the girls in my family, because I just felt like it was a sentimental thing that you would want to keep. So you never know what's important to people. But my mom was a fabulous entertainer and cook and all that stuff. And it's kind of a dying breed. I mean, we don't live like that anymore as much, but it was pretty cool. But you also want to consider when you're downsizing, donating items to a good cause. There's a lot of good organizations out there like Life Network. It's a thrift store that supports life, and they're at I think Montebello and Academy, Habitat for Humanity, the Ark. There's different religious charities like Catholic charities, different places to help homeless people. There's all kinds of cool stuff that you could donate your stuff to if you don't want it. Or you could resell it at the consignment stores. And in general, when you are doing that, take it one room at a time, or you'll absolutely get overwhelmed. Set aside all your jewelry, have a packing plan, like color code with rooms. Say, okay, one room is going to be black and one's orange and one's blue. That way, when you unpack, you know what it goes to. And then make sure you have a first day packing box. Those are just kind of the quick and easy tips, but we help people do this. So if you are thinking of making a move, you need some help with this, we allow people to use our moving vans for free. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Barb, you and your team are the only company that I would recommend to people out there who are thinking of selling their homes and downsizing to a smaller home. They can get more information by calling Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit Barb Has the Buyers. When we come back, we'll be discussing, is your home sale a done deal after you accept a contract? Barb will explain that.